Hello, I'm Dr. Josh, and I'm not a doctor. Now the patient's on the slab and my scalpel's getting lonely. Let's operate, shall we? You may be aware of the 1931 classic Universal horror film starring Bela Lugosi called Dracula, but you may not be aware of the 1931 classic Universal horror film not starring Bela Lugosi, also called Dracula. Now, Dracula was filmed on the same set as Dracula, just with a completely different cast, crew, and language. It was part of Universal's foreign film division and was essentially the same movie as the Dracula we all know and love, just with some key differences. Now, for the sake of clarity, I'll call them English Dracula and Spanish Dracula respectively. English Dracula is a beautiful little picture with captivating performances from Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frye. Spanish Dracula trades in the staunch, conservative camera work and costumes of its English counterpart for roving shots that do a better job of showing off the set and featuring more daring costumes for the side characters. I get the feeling that the crew behind Spanish Dracula were a little peeved that they were stuck as the B crew, because their efforts to kick up the artistry of the overall experience is easy to feel while watching it. Of course, I'm not content just to watch something, I must dissect the body. The differences and strengths between Spanish and English Dracula led me down the spooky, dead tree-lined road of attempting to stitch together their various parts in order to create the ultimate Dracula, with me playing the role of Digital Dr. Frankenstein. I didn't have time to perform surgery on the entirety of the film, so the first order of business was to choose the sequence that I wanted to work on, and cut together an edit that spliced some of the shots I really liked from Spanish Dracula into the English Dracula framework for the scene. Essentially, the task will be to replace Carlos Villegas with Bela Lugosi. No shade to Carlos, his Dracula is great, but my goal is to stick with the more iconic figure, which is undoubtedly Lugosi. The sequence I'm going to be working on takes place in the crypt beneath Dracula's castle. It's got some lovely atmosphere to it, and the Spanish version only adds to the majesty of the sequence by giving it more time to breathe, as well as a couple new angles of the awesome-looking set. I'm not sure why, but English Dracula seems a bit brighter of a transfer than my copy of Spanish Dracula, though they were both ripped from the same Blu-ray, so I'm not sure why. Before moving on, can we talk about the bee? I've never understood this shot. Is this a tiny coffin for a tiny vampire, or a regular-sized coffin with a gigantic bee? Either way, it stands out in both versions as a bizarre thing to include and then just never follow up on. Moving right along. The first shot I want to use from Spanish Dracula is the one where we actually see Dracula get up from his coffin. I don't think we see that in the English one, and it's really cool to see all the coffins, the smoke, the foreground framing device. It's a great shot and an important story point. So I'm gonna lift that from the Spanish Dracula and put it into the English Dracula. You can tell they don't want to harm the actor by whatever method they're using for coffin smoke, so it looks like they shot two different shots, one with the smoke coming out of the coffin, and then one with the actor getting out of the smoke-free environment, then just faded between the two of them. There are a couple giveaways that lead me to this conclusion. The first issue is that the cobweb is blowing in the breeze ever so slightly, and on that crossfade, it doesn't really match up in the transition. Also, to make this work, they would need the coffin lid to be in the same exact place in both shots, so this transition would be seamless. They almost got it right. It's a hard thing to line up by eye. Lastly, the way the smoke dissipates looks very much so like what it is, a cross dissolve. So while I can't make the shot look perfect, I can use a couple tricks to try and smooth out that transition as well. As far as replacing Dracula with Dracula, there are many ways you could go about it. You could model a completely CG Bela Lugosi, animate, light, and render him. This would take a lot of time and skill that I personally do not have. You could deepfake Bela Lugosi's face, and this method basically has an AI learn what Bela looked like by examining tons of reference photos multiple times in order to learn how to simulate how his face would move and react. I've never done this before, I'm certain my hardware could handle it, yet I'm not sure I want to dedicate a lot of time to learning the ins and outs of this technique at the moment, but maybe in the future. You could track existing footage of Bela into the scene, which would require a lot of comp work and might end up looking a little janky. Or you could do it the easy way. I'm a big fan of the easy way. All I've got to do is scrub through the movie to find examples of Bela making the right face at the right angle, take some screen grabs, use those screen grabs to paint some keyframes in Photoshop, then plug the footage and those keyframes into a free software called EBSynth, and bake out a ton of frame sequences based on those keyframes. Now, what EBSynth does is it essentially takes your painting and tries to match the footage you're lining up with that keyframe painting. Now, the sequences I baked out with Dracula's face replacing Dracula don't completely work, but each sequence has a place where it does work. So I'll take all the spots from all the new EB Synth sequences that look pretty good and then combine them in Nuke, which is a compositing software. Now that we've got Dracula looking good, we are nearly there. We still have the problem of the strange crossfade smoke issue, as well as the fact that the grain in the footage isn't moving in Dracula's face anymore, because it's just replaced with a painting, right? So there's moving grain in the background, but the film grain on his face, it's not matching up. So we've got to address these issues. I grabbed some stock footage of fog and steam and slowed those suckers down, then just gently kissed them into the frame, partly to distract from the crossfade jumpiness of the original shot, and partly to help the new head feel like it fits in the same world as the body. In order to have a uniform grain over all the elements together, I used a denoiser to strip some of the grain away from the original source, and then layer new grain over on top of everything, just so it kind of meshes. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the way these shots turned out. It's not perfect, but as an exercise, it was really fun to do and really gratifying to see how it came together in the end. Professional diagnosis?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, give us a like. If you didn't, don't.
Hi.